Hello and welcome to this show, which is going to show you how to take your old Gameboy Advance SP, perfect example like this one here, still got a game in it, Monsters Inc. It's not my game, I bought this on the Facebook Marketplace, and perhaps reshell it into something more desirable. For example, the NES Classic design one. Now these sort of shells you can pick up on AliExpress quite cheap. This one I think was under £10 and the machine was only £5, came without a charger, but you know, I know it already works, that's all pretty good. So what we're going to do is go through the steps, not comprehensively but you know, roughly for you, how to reshell your old Game Boy Advance SP into a new shell. Now first things first, you get 2 screwdrivers with your with your purchase. You get one that's just a standard sort of crosshead one, and one that's also a tri-wing one as well, which the tri-wing one is the one that usually you can't find in shops, so it can be quite difficult to get, so it's good it comes with it. You're also going to need a flathead screwdriver, absolutely, with this, because on the side of your Game Boy Advance SP you've got to try and pop out these little side bits which are really irritating to try and get out, and you need a flathead screwdriver to go in there and wedge them out. You will have to drive it right in there to pull them out. Much like the scene in The Terminator where he's removing his eye. It's a lot like that, gouging it in there and shoving it out. Also, before you start as well, you want to get these points out here, which I'll show you how to do. Now, naturally, it doesn't really matter about your old shell because you're going to be chucking that away presumably anyway, so you don't need to worry too much there. Now there's going to be hidden screws under here, which we've got to get the whole lot of these out, or else we're going to cause ourselves some problems, because obviously we're going to be changing the whole casing over. I think you might be able to get away with not doing this if you plan on recycling your old lid. You can just change the bottom part of the casing, but you really want to do the whole thing if you're being honest with yourself. Now right, you need the crosshead screwdriver, which is your first one there, to take your battery compartment out. Bearing in mind that these screwdrivers aren't that great, so they can thread very easily. I should put all the old bits on that side. Take your rechargeable battery out, put that on that side. Now you can have a screw there in the casing, right? You've got one there, one there, one there, one here, make sure you get that one, and one here. So we're going to take our casing off. We're going to need our tri-wing for this. Make sure you keep hold of all these screws as well, because if you're like me, you might want to try and use as many Nintendo screws to put the thing back together again, which is what I did with the actual NES Classic shell. I used the old serial number from the Arctic Blue one, and I used my serial number there because I didn't really want to use the one that came in the packaging, because it's a Japanese generic serial number. So yeah, I didn't really fancy it. It didn't look right anyway, for being honest with you. Didn't look right at all. Right, so that's 4 of the screws out. Out comes number 5 on this end, and one by the cartridge slot as well. Now I haven't done this for a long time, so I'm sort of going along with you guys as we do this. So it's either going to be a how to do video, or it's going to be Man Massacre's Game Boy Advance SP on YouTube. So that's enough to take the casing off there. That's your old blue casing, or whatever your colour would be. You've got to make sure when you're putting this back together again that your volume slider's in the right place where it should be, because you can fall foul of that quite often, and I might very well do before the video's out, so don't laugh at me if I do, because I haven't done this for about 6 or 7 years. Right, 2 screws inside the casing here. You've got one which is down under the cartridge slot, just there, and you've got one just above the cartridge slot, which is there. So that should allow us to lift the CPU out if there isn't another hidden screw here somewhere, which there is. There is also one there. So you'll know if there's any extra screws, because if you're being really careful with it, it won't, you'll have extra resistance there. Right, once we're inside the machine there, you tip him up, and what we're going to do is we're going to take out the ribbon cable here, which has a little clasp by the side of him that allows him to pop out like that. He's going to be a nightmare to get back in, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So put your CPU off to the side. They're relatively hardy, so you might not have any issues there. Take your speaker out, right? Bearing in mind we need to note how it goes back in there again, with the two divot lines being facing outwards to us rather than facing inwards, because your speakers won't work then. Keep your little membranes as well, because it's probably better to use the Nintendo ones. They're going to be better quality. I don't think you're going to need any more buttons here, because the NES one is actually different, so that's all good. Right, okay, so there you go, we've got a bare inside of our casing. Now, lose the buttons, it's all good, don't need to worry about those anyway. They say something about having a tidy workbench, but that doesn't apply here. Use your tri-wing screwdriver again to get all your ones out of your screen. Nice and simple so far. And what's going to happen in an ideal world is this is going to come apart in a second. Don't want to say crack apart, because we don't want anything to do with cracking on the screen. So this should come straight apart. There we go, back part first. Now the back part will come off first, so lift your screen out very carefully. Don't pull the top part of the casing and then end up ripping the ribbon cable for the Game Boy. Right, so I'm going to transplant that into there. Right, we've got a ribbon cable that we have to tend to here, so we're going to just try and poke him through. This is the most fiddly part of it. Okay. That's not too bad. So once you've poked it through, you're going to expose another little screw that's there. So you don't push it all the way through, just semi-expose it. We're just going to take one of your hinges away, right? So we need the right screwdriver for that. We need our crosshead to be able to do this. Now it's a hidden one. Very easy to miss it. And then that allows your hinge piece to come away. And then you can poke the rest of the ribbon cable through there. Okay. Like so. And then that comes away from there. So we've got the other part of that away. Right. What I'm going to do is, that's a good point. What you're going to have to do, I think, is recycle the old hinge plates, because I'm pretty sure that they don't supply those with it. And you can hurt your fingers by doing this. They can be absolute sods to get out. There's one. So again, this is where your screwdriver comes in very handy. Let's take that out. What you've got to do is fiddle with it until you get it to the point where it's going to come out. I think it has a point of least resistance, which is somewhere around here. Maybe this one pushes out from there. Oh yeah. There we go. Out he comes. Okay. Take your new case in. Try and get these little sods in. Alright. as one. Second one. That's where a tidy workbench comes in nice and handy. Right, don't do it with your flathead because you'll end up stabbing yourself more than likely. I've done that a couple of times. Okay, right, that's that. And then what we're going to do is feed the ribbon cable through. Again, fiddly as you like. Alright. Alright. Shut the case in. Then get your little piece, which you should get in your set. Make sure you get it the right way round. Alright. Now you get the tricky part is getting that screw back in again. Which can prove nightmarish. So put that down. Thankfully your screwdrivers are magnetic. And that's all good. That's that stuck down. Now you want to stick your screen back down using your tri-wing. Okay, and basically we're moving towards really the finishing touches of doing this. You get a screen bezel with it, which is there. I didn't use that. Yeah, if you're refurbishing Gameboy Advances, then yeah, use it. But I actually prefer trying to use as much genuine equipment as possible. Yeah, I'm not planning on selling this on or anything like that, or trying to dupe people into thinking it's actually a NES Classic. But I do actually think that Nintendo's quality is better than, say, that of a factory in China. Right. As you probably guessed by now, you need a bit of a delicate hand to be able to do this, because it can be awfully convoluted. Take the cardboard backing out. Right, okay, so we've got buttons in there already. You can leave them in there if you want to, it's your call. You know, I might change some around for some Nintendo bits and pieces actually while I'm here, just as a part of the course. Well, actually, in this case, it doesn't look like you can. It looks like they've modified it slightly. They used to be able to, obviously you can't now. Never mind, that's really. Remember, speaker goes in, but you've got to put that like that to make sure that you're actually going to get some sound rather than, you know, nothing at all. You've got the option to take over your triggers should you want to, but these are, you know, the right colour for this shell, so I'm probably just going to stick with the ones that they provide. They're probably going to be good enough, I would think. I mean, that's famous last words, isn't it? Right, you need to put your ribbon cable from your main processing board back in, which is going to be fiddly. Alright, so if you'll go in, anything to do with this ribbon cable is the most fiddly part of this job. really, really irritating. Okay. Make sure your carriers push it back on. Don't break those carriers whatever you do, because if you do, you are screwed. Right, get your button in. It's going to control your volume pot. Okay, your case in. So you're going to line that up, but not before we get the bloody screws back in. Right, the smallest screw, I believe, goes in the central one. Make sure you haven't mole-hilled it, that's fine. Okay. Again, that's good. I don't think you're the right screw. No. I knew whichever one was the other cross edge. Is that around here somewhere? Looks like it might have been that one, but it's pretty rusty. Right, I need it. It's imperative that you get one that's small enough so it's not going to cause you problems, because this can poke through the outer part of the casing and ruin everything. So yeah, that's good. That hasn't done it at all. Alright. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock these down a little bit because they're not very tight. Yeah, that's a bit better. Then what you're going to do is get your buttons in. Well, dropping it on the floor would be a good idea. Yeah, good. Get your back casing on. Put all your screws back in there. Obviously put your rechargeable battery back in. Okay, put your back casing back on as well, and you'll end up with a NES Classic GBA. Alright, and you'll also get a little red Nintendo sign with it that you can put on the front of the casing as your final touch. So it's not as scary as it looks. If anything, it's nice and easy, to be honest. So I firmly recommend doing it and going from, you know, an old casing to something a lot newer and nicer, and, you know, limited edition. So you pick those up on AliExpress. They're quite cheap, under 10 quid. So yeah, I hope it helps you out a little bit and maybe gives you a bit of inspiration to spruce up your tired GBA SP. See you next time.